One small legal mistake can cost your clients thousands of dollars and might actually cost you your license. So today I want to break down top legal mistakes that I see agents make, and I'm going to kind of give you some tips on how to avoid them. Hey y'all, it's Brad Allen. I've helped hundreds of agents navigate the real estate business, and I've also helped them navigate staying out of real estate jail. And I know what you do. You go back and think about real estate school, and all they say is, don't do this, you'll get sued. Don't do this, you won't get sued. And there's always that joke that you're not a real realtor until you get sued once or twice. That's not necessarily the case. But I do think there's some things that we do in our everyday business that we probably shouldn't be, or things that we need to be looking out for that could really get us in the hot water with our real estate commission or the law in general. So I want to go over a couple things that I think is really, really important. First, I want y'all to make sure you're paying attention to your state and local realtor association emails. They send out legal advice all the time. There's always moving, it's always changing. So make sure you're staying up to date on what's actually happening. Think of it as like a doctor. They're paying attention to the newest things that are coming out, the newest trials, the newest treatments, because they want to be the best version they can be for their patients. You need to do the same thing when it comes to the legal part. Guys, law is always changing. Rules are always changing. That's a given. So make sure that you're doing that first and foremost. One of the biggest mistakes I see is that agents don't always disclose material facts. And as you know, that's most likely part of your fiduciary duty or your real estate law, whatever state you're in, that you have to disclose a thing that is a material fact to a buyer or a seller. And sometimes we get in that stuck point where a seller goes, hey, yes, I have a foundation issue. Do not tell the buyers. That's not how that's supposed to work. And so what you need to do is make sure that you tell the client up front, hey guys, I owe you fiduciary duties, obedience, loyalty, confidentiality, right? Disclosure. But at the same time, if I find of a material fact that you don't want to disclose through the normal means, I'm going to have to tell that other side. And it'll be a lot more awkward. So I just assume that we tell them through our seller's disclosures or whatever it might be. But we get stuck because we think we can't do it because we work for our client and we don't want to mess it up. But at the end of the day, our legal requirement supersedes our fiduciary requirement when it comes to this. So make sure if you know of an issue that could be of a problem, you need to make sure the buyers on your listings know about that. Or if you're the buyer's rep, make sure they know about it too, even if it kills the deal. The second mistake I see is mishandling of contracts. They're half filled out, they're half initialed, it's vague terminology, there's blanks, there's TBDs. You're acting like a lawyer sometimes. The contract part is where it is literally it's documented. And I've seen it. When y'all get in trouble, when a buyer and seller get mad, everything might be cool when they're going through it. And they're like, yeah, I'm good with that. I'm good with that. And then 2 years later, somebody gets mad about something. They hire an attorney. They're going to subpoena your contract and they're going to hold it up and be like, you advised them on this? It's not even filled out. How's that going to look in front of a jury, in front of a real estate commission? It's going to look really, really bad. So I think one of the biggest things that you need to do outside of disclosing material facts, another legal risk is making sure that your contract is buttoned up, it's tight, that when there's a scratch out, if you're allowed to do that in your state, that it's initialed by both people, not just the thing that was scratched out, but the new number. So let's say I offer $100,000. The seller says I want 105. They scratch out the 100. That seller should initial the scratch out and the new number. My buyer, if they agree, should initial the scratch out and the new number. There's no ambiguity on what we agreed to there. Oftentimes we'll just have one initial. It's did we agree to the scratch out or did we agree to the new number? Not real sure. You'll find out if somebody disagrees. I promise you that, but it's usually at the closing table. The third one I mentioned earlier is giving legal advice. Guys, we overstep our lane so often. Really take a breath. And before you say something to a client, make sure that you're not giving them legal advice. Now, some states, it's great. You can't do that. You can only use pre-printed responses and contingencies. Some other states, it's the wild freaking West, and you can write whatever you want within reason until you get sued for practicing law without a license, which happens actually quite often. So make sure that you're not giving advice that oversteps the bounds. Remember, you're a pretty face that opens up doors, negotiates contracts, but you're also the quarterback that needs to get your client to the professional when they have a question about said professional side. The fourth one, and hopefully this not happen a lot to y'all, but it's the mishandling of earnest money, trust funds. I'm seeing more and more companies now have attorneys hold earnest money, which is fantastic. But guys, I'd get in the habit of not touching it. You ever lost an earnest money check? I have. It's embarrassing as hell. It really is. So make sure that you're not messing with that. Make sure that goes straight from the consumer, straight to the attorney, title, whatever. There's tons of apps out there that are totally secure that they can transfer that money for a small fee and be right there. The fifth one is ignoring the laws, right? There are rules. There are fair housing rules. There are disclosure requirements. And I see agents sometimes take the easy road. Don't do that. Do the law the way it's supposed to do. And make sure that you're not circumventing it, where it's like somebody's like, hey, I really want to write a love letter to your seller so I can get this listing. And you're like, well, if I don't see it, I don't see it. Or, hey, I need to write a check to the buyer at closing because I forgot to fix the dishwasher for $300. I'm just going to give them a check. Guys, I've seen that try to happen before, and that's not legal. So make sure we're not taking the easy route just to get by with it. Make sure we're doing the right thing. Make sure every piece of money shows up on the settlement statement. Make sure every requirement is fulfilled. Make sure you're doing the right thing every single time. Make sure you're having that integrity. That's what I want to say to you. Have the integrity, because lawsuits don't come about the day the infraction happens. It's like 4 or 5 years later. So make sure you button it up during the process so you don't have to deal with it 4 or 5 years later. So as we wrap this video up, make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to do. You're keeping correspondence, you're keeping text messages, you're keeping files for when you're supposed to keep them. I'd put everything in writing so that way there is no ambiguity of what you said or what you meant. Also, follow the law. Don't take the easy route, take the right route. Do what you're supposed to do. You're getting paid a ton of money. Make sure that you're doing it so that way you can continue to make that money and you're not standing in front of real estate court, real estate commissions, or anything in between. So as always, shoot me a DM if you think I disagree with this. And as always, hit that little like and subscribe so I can just feel better about making these videos and I actually get to know if you like them or not.